Hello, everybody, and welcome to the very first edition of the Sunday Race Club. I'll be your host for today. My name is Jeff Thorne. Looking at today's course preview, it is going to be a distance of 45 kilometers, pretty standard. 5 segments today, going to be in the 1 kilometer range and then 2 in the 10s. Looking at the course preview, we have a maximum elevation today of only 740 meters. It's going to be a pretty fast one here after segment number 5, I feel. It's going to be more of a time change or a time trial. So it's going to be a really interesting first edition of the Sunday Race Club. For our team lineup, you can see here on the screen for the UAE clan team, we have Mr. X100, Pablo Popovich, SS, Rakat Al-Thib. And for the UAE Falcons, we have Ahmed Al-Tanaji, Zahid Hamdan, Hassan Rumith, and Yusuf Mirza. And for UAE Road Warriors, we have Abdullah, Ahmed A, Renosh, and Fazal Amin. And for Danish Pavlova, we have Michael Kunsen from Denmark, Jason Osborne from Germany, Ollie Jones, and Michael Vink. And next to them is Yorkshire Pudding Express with Philip Graves, Mitch Ferry, and Paul Odlin. And for our individuals, we have Omar Karain, John Bargan, David Molano, Bashar, Nasir Khalifa, Shazad Sarwar, Julio Rego, Ross Fawcett, and Maxime Perard. So here you can see overall course details again. As I said previously, 7 segments, 5 1 kilometer segments, and 2 being the 10K. And like I said, those last 2 segments, number 6 and 7, it's going to be basically a time trial stage. And it's going to be really interesting to see who's going to be up there in the mix. As we saw last weekend with the Winter Solstice Championships, most of the stages ended with some good climb, some good elevation, which really favored some of the climbing guys. But today should be interesting. So just inside a minute to go here. Everybody's getting warmed up. They have been warming up for the last few minutes here. But now we're getting into the 30 seconds before we go. And we're going to see who makes the initial efforts off the front. If I was a betting man, I would guess that we're going to see Danish Pavlova team trying to control today's race. But also, we could also have up there the UAE clan team, of course. But we'll find out here shortly once they roll off the line. And off we go. Max attacks from everybody already up into the 400 watt range. Eyes on Mr. X100 right now. But the whole pack is really nice and tight off the line there. You can see a breakaway off the front. Trying to see who that is up there. Looks like it's going to be Maxime. He's leading off the front group right now. And we have Michael Kunsen in the back on the right side of our screen trying to catch up to that front pack. And they are going max attack. It looks like they're going to be settling into a pace here pretty soon. Jason Osborne, eyes on our screen right now. Of course, this man won last week our overall Winter Solstice Championship. Really great to have him and his team, Danish Pavlova, back with us for the first edition of the Sunday Race Club, and hopefully they are with us for the rest of the year. Most of these guys are going to be preparing for the upcoming UCI World Championships in esports. I know he'll be there along with Ollie. So this is going to be some good condition training for these guys for next month's event. Just now 1K into the race. Everybody's still in full attack mode. Really pumping out watts. Nobody's really able to break away from this front pack. Up front, we have a couple of mixed riders. Really good stuff so far from this group. Impressive to see. We're not even 2Ks in, and they're acting as if this is a 1 kilometer segment going all out. Right side of our screen, we can see David Milano. He's dropped off from the back of the pack by about 8 seconds. But it's not surprising because, these guys are going full send, but David could be hanging out in the back and try to grab up some segment wins today. We've seen that approach from some of our female riders over the Winter Solstice Championship last week, excuse me. So that could be one of his tactics. And here we are at the start of segment 1. This is going to be first segment of the stage today, 1K. So this is going to be max effort for whoever wants it. And it looks like we'll see a little attack coming on soon from Mr. X100. He was putting out a couple little efforts there, but now he's just hanging out in the pack. Everybody's still really nice and tight in this group. Again, this is a 1K stage, so soon we're approaching the halfway point. And we have Jason Osborne at the front now with Hassan up there, Mitch Ferry, Julio. Everybody's just kind of jockeying for position right now inside the 300-meter window to go to the finish of segment number 1. And now we can see an attack off the front there. Michael Vink is going for it. Julio Orrego is right there with him. Mitch Ferry, Jason Osborne bridging the gap up there. Coming through the line of checkpoint 1, it will be Vink, followed by Julio and Mitch Ferry, but we'll have to wait for the results to come in. And there goes, was that Mr. X100 that flew past here? So we'll see who takes it. So far, Mr. X100 took that stage win. Did see him put out a little bit of an early effort there. So not too surprised by that. Let's see if we can get the results a little bit bigger so we can see the overall times. There we go. So Mr. X100 for UAE Clan Team 1. Total time, 1 minute, 8 seconds, shortly behind Danish Pavlova rider Michael Vink. Just 0.494 seconds back. So that's really, really close. And behind him for UAE Falcons is Hassan with a total time of 109.4. So congratulations, Mr. X100. So now we can see the group still kind of sticking together. It looks like they're trying to divide themselves up a little bit. We're on our way to segment number 2 for today, starting at kilometer number 5. So just under 500 meters to go to the start of segment 2. Everyone's nice and rebunched up. And here we go, approaching the start of segment number 2. Another 1 kilometer segment here for the guys. We'll see if we see any early attacks to try to take this segment win. As we said before, it's not about who crosses the line first. It's about your overall time. But with most of these guys coming through the line at the same time, it could be anybody's race here at the end. If someone makes an attack, it definitely has to be answered. If it's not answered, then that rider who makes the attack will likely win segment number 2. We have Mr. X100 off the front so far, but he is joined there by Philip Graves. Certainly in good company. Jason Osborne there as well. He's going to be staying with this group, of course, the whole stage. He wants to take the overall win, I imagine. It's going to be interesting to see when or if we'll see this group break into 2, perhaps at the end of the stage. But it's really nice to see them all kind of sticking together so far. They've all had some good recovery time after the Winter Solstice Championship. So here we are, 300 meters now to the finish of segment 2. Who's going to make the attack? I'm watching the data. I'm looking to see who's it going to be. It looks like Hassan. He's going for it. He's going to try to take that segment number 2. And now everybody else through the line there. And yes, so far, Hassan with a total of 1 minute and 31 seconds. 4 seconds behind him from the UAE clan team, SS. And behind SS, we have Pablo Popovic, his teammate from the UAE clan team. Not too many breakaways in that segment number 2. Maybe a smart move by everybody, just kind of hang out, save some energy. So if you start going for these segments back to back, then maybe you don't have a lot in the tank for the end of today's stage. Getting back to the race, though, it looks like the pack is trying to separate into 2 now. We have 4 guys off the front, being Pablo Popovic, Mitch Ferry, and his teammate Philip Graves. Ollie Jones from Danish Pavlova there with him, trying to hang on. They've only put about 2 seconds on the pack behind them, which mostly consists of, all the other big names, of course. You have Osborne back there, Mr. X100. They're extending that gap now to 4 seconds. Now they're going to be trying to bridge that gap up. Michael Kuhnsen from Danish Pavlova, Jason on his wheel. They're pushing and pulling each other back up to that front group. Paul Odlin as well. Everybody's just trying to hang on now. Real high watt numbers. So now Jason and Ollie have rejoined with that front group. And we are just 300 meters away from the start of segment number 3. And this is a really good view. You can kind of see how they've split up into 2 packs right here. They're still pretty close together. But if the front group keeps putting out these kinds of numbers, then that chase group is going to have a lot of work to do to stay on their tail. So segment 3 now, we are underway. Another 1 kilometer segment here. Mr. X100 now crossing the line. 3 seconds back from that front group there. And at the front, we can see the pack is just now settling back into a more normal pace. So this could give Mr. X100 time to catch up as long as the pack doesn't start pushing too hard too soon. Now he's rejoined the pack. And he's just going to have to sit in and try to recover. So now inside 500 meters to go for segment number 3. Nobody's making any big moves just yet. We have the Danish Pavlova team sitting nice. They're in a good position. They want to control most of this race, of course, so they can all have a good overall end result for today's Sunday Race Club. Now you can start to see the watt numbers come up. Just after the crest of this hill, we'll have the finish line for segment number 3. And I don't have any predictions on who's going to take this one. This is going to be a really interesting result list here, I feel. So through the line, wait for a few others to come through and we'll see. So for UA Clan Team, looks like it'll be SS. Total time 1 minute and 35. 3 seconds back from him will be Mr. X100. And individual rider John Bargain, time of 1:41. I really had no idea how that segment was going to play out. It seemed like everybody was pretty equal, except for Mr. X100, who was putting on an attack there to stay with the group. Even though he's putting on that attack, it could have meant for a really good overall time. But it looks like his teammate SS just beat him out by a few seconds there. So now we are on our way to segment number 4. Another 1 kilometer segment, of course. It's going to be starting here at 11 Ks. And I'm going to go ahead and take a little water break. And I hope the guys are staying hydrated as well. So I'll come back to you before we start segment number 4. So now we're back just at the beginning of segment number 4, starting here at the 11K mark. So just 200 meters to go. And it looks like we're seeing quite the attack from Pablo Popovich off the front. With him, Philip Graves and Mitch Ferry really trying to up the pace of this pack here. They're coming through the start gate here. Segment number 4, almost hitting in that 500 watt range. Just crazy. Straight on through here. Segment number 4 is going to be a little bit of a tricky segment. It is more of a climbing segment. So right now they have a little bit of a downhill helping them out, but they're going to start to crest on out of here. 700 meters to go to this segment. And this front group has done an amazing job so far of just staying together, not letting anybody out of their sights. So Mitch Ferry trying to make a little bit of a lead out. Don't think it's a full attack just yet. Teammate Paul Odin is there. Of course, Jason Osborne's up there as well. These types of segments really benefit or really cater to Jason Osborne. Most of the Danish Pavlova guys, great climbers, as we saw in the Winter Solstice Championship. So now 200 meters to go. Mr. X100 up there. John Barragan. Could be anybody's segment. Just like segment number 3, I don't have any predictions on this one. We can see attack now coming up. So to the line, Mr. X100, Michael Kunsen, but we'll wait for the results here. And it will be those two. Look at that. Mr. X100, total time 1 minute and 43. And just 0.358 seconds behind him would be Michael Kunsen of Danish Pavlova. And third place, UAE Clan Team SS. UAE Clan Team's doing a good job with some segment wins today. And it's nice to see Mr. X100's name pop up there in the top standings. He really, really tried hard in the Winter Solstice Championship when you're racing against world-class athletes such as we had there. Must be really tough. So it looks like he's got some good recovery time in. And he's doing making a really good showing for the first edition of the Sunday Race Club. So now the guys just have under 2 kilometers to kind of regroup with each other, regroup with their thoughts. And we're going to start segment number 5 at the 14-kilometer mark. This is going to be our last 1K segment of the day. Then we're going to roll into our last 2 segments, 6 and 7, which will be a total of 10 kilometers. This is also a portion on the course where we're going to start to go downhill a little bit. The guys can get a little break in their legs, as you can see on the course preview here. So you can see they're going to be going downhill and then slightly up towards the end. It's going to be more of a false flat towards the end of today's stage, but it's a heck of a lot better than going straight up like some of the stages we saw last week. So UAE Clan Team rider, Mr. X100 off the front currently, trying to control the pace of the group. And as soon as I say that, that was obviously taken over. But we'll see a lot of lead changes here as the guys are so tightly grouped together. Now on board with this man, our Winter Solstice champion, Jason Osborne from Germany. He's doing everything right today with his team, Danish Pavlova. Like I said, I'm pretty sure they're going to be using these races to get themselves ready for the upcoming UCI World Championship. That's going on next month. So at the start here now for segment number 5. And off the front, UAE Clan Team rider, Mr. X100. Just reaching that 400 watt range. He's going to really try to push the pace of this group. And coming from the back now, as you can see on screen, Maxime Perard. He's getting up into the front of this group now. Still anybody's stage so far. Having a look at Paul Odin. on the right side of our screen, he's putting on really good efforts, making his way through that front pack. You can see him on screen there, trying to get himself positioned well for a stage finish here, or segment finish, excuse me. So just inside 400 meters to go, the last 1K segment of the day. Finish line in sight now. Mr. X100 off the front again. Really trying to rack up the segment wins today. Approaching the finish line now. Let everybody cross and we'll start to see some times come through. Now it looks like it's going to be Maxime, individual rider today. Maxime Perard is going to take segment number 5, total time of 1 minute and 31, and just very closely behind UAE Clan Team rider Mr. X100, followed by his teammate Pablo Popovic. Then we have Danish Pavlova back there in 4th place, being Jason Osborne. Don't think we're going to see much of these guys from Danish Pavlova going for segment wins today. They just want to have a really good overall finish for today's Sunday Race Club. Get some good team points. So it looks like the times are staying where they're at. No real mix up in the results. So congratulations to Maxime Perard for taking segment number 5. So with segment number 5 behind us, we're rolling up to segment number 6 in about 3 kilometers. And that is going to start at kilometer number 19 all the way through kilometer number 29. As you can see on screen now, it is going to be a relatively flat segment for the guys. There is drafting in these stages, of course, so they can all work together and pull themselves through. I don't think we'll see any early attacks as we get into the latter part of today's stage. But it looks like we have a small breakaway happening at the front with Philip Graves, Mr. X100, trying to put a couple seconds on the pack there. Don't think it's going to last. I think they're going to get sucked up pretty quick. And I don't think it's a very smart move to go off the front this soon in the race. It's a lot of effort with a long ways to go. Strategically speaking, I think it's better just sit in the pack, conserve some of your energy, draft off your teammates and the other riders around you. And you can see that pack now is catching them no problem. So I'm not quite sure what that was with Mr. X100 and Philip Graves. Not sure what their tactic was together. Maybe just causing a surge for the chase group. Maybe try to wear some of the guys out. Maybe Mr. X100 wants to wear out some Danish Pavlova riders. But I think that's going to be a really hard thing to do. So just under 2Ks to go to the start of segment 6. Everyone's sticking together now. Mr. X100 still trying to lead out this group. We have Maxime Perard on the right side of our screen. Not killing it in the watt range right now, 70 watts. But that just means he's recovering. So we might see a really good effort from Maxime as we go into our first 10-kilometer segment. He might be doing a little bit of recovery right now. So off the front here, Pablo Popovic, UAE Clan Team, flirting with the 500 watt range now, 43 kilometers per hour. Pretty high RPM. Would really love if we could start streaming some of you guys who are racing with us so we can see how hard you're actually pushing. On screen, of course, we can see your avatars bouncing back and forth out of the saddle into the drops. But it'd be really awesome to see you guys. So now Mr. X100 doing what he can to hang on. Trying to hang on to the back of the pack while still putting out 400 watts just lets you know how fast this main group is going right now. So now we're just 500 meters away to the start of our segment number 6. Everybody's still looking good together. Still off the front. X100 really trying to make his presence known in today's Sunday Race Club. As we approach segment number 6, everybody through the line now for the most part here. And now we're underway of our first 10-kilometer stage for the day. Currently at 410 meters above sea level. Like I said earlier, it's going to be more of a false flat kind of stage. But this one here, they're going to be dropping down and slowly climbing their way back up. So we're currently at kilometer number 19. So just past stage 6 checkpoint, as you can see on the map here. So relatively flat for this portion here, but they're going to start to go up here shortly. On board now with Michael Vink. I read online some people call him the Vinkinator. Don't know if that's true. But him and his team, Danish Pavlova, have put on a great show for us during last week's series, the Winter Solstice Championship. Very strong group of riders. As you can see, they're all still kind of sticking together in this front group, really working together as a team. Next to Vink there, you have Mr. X100. Whole group staying nice and tidy. Still putting out really high watts. Right now, off the front, looks like we're going to try to have a little breakaway there from Mr. X100. Quickly answered by Philip Graves. And you have Michael Vink back there as well. They're not going to let Mr. X100 get too far away. Seems like Philip Graves is glued to this man today, ready to answer all of his attacks. Looks like the group's starting to string apart ever so slightly. They were once a big pack taking up almost the whole trail here, and now they're kind of starting to spread out and string along. So just 2.1 kilometers into this 10-kilometer stage. No big moves happening just yet. Still a long ways to go in this stage. So we're going to go ahead and let the guys get settled in. Let them do their thing. And I'm going to take a quick break and come back with you in a few kilometers. So now I'm back with you guys. We're at kilometer 23, a few kilometers now into segment number 6. And up at the front, we have Jason Osborne. He's up there with John and Mitch Ferry. Teammate Gunson is just shortly behind. So now I think we might start to see Jason start to up the pace here of the whole pack. He really starts to excel in the latter part of the stages. On screen now, Ollie Jones from New Zealand. He's currently qualified to race in the 2022 UCI Esports Championship. It's really cool. We have two riders racing with us today. They'll be competing in next month's UCI Worlds for the esports. So if you're competing with us today and you get to ride alongside these guys and you're able to hold their wheel, I think you're doing a pretty good job. Mr. X100 now, trying to go off the front again. Just over 500 watts. And like I said before, there's Philip Graves, not letting him go too much. He's just sticking on his wheel today. Been a really good showing for Mr. X100 today so far. And overall for his team, the UAE Clan Team 1, they've had quite a few segment wins already, which is really nice to see, but we're going to see who takes the first 10K segment. Just inside 5 kilometers to go. Now SS on screen. He's right up there in the pack. We'll see if he can work together with his teammates, come out with a good overall time for segment number 6. No big moves happening just yet. Everybody's still staying nice and tidy. Looks like Jason and Mitch tried to do a little tiny lead out there, but I don't think that was tactical. I think they're just in their own little world doing their ride. It's hard to tell sometimes if you're on your trainer and you just stand up and just trying to get comfortable on the bike. It'll register probably a watt spike and it'll probably think it is an attack when it's not. Gunson now was off the front, letting himself get sucked up by the pack there. I'm sure he felt that was too soon to go. Good overhead shot of the pack here. Still getting a little stringed out. Starting to surge forward now. Mr. X100 currently on screen. He's going to have to put out some watts to catch back up. He doesn't want to get dropped too far behind. So now he's rejoined the group. It looks like he's going to go up to the front. Maybe try to control the last few kilometers of segment number 6 here. Off the front he goes. Right there with him, Mitch Ferry and SS. Jason Osborne, of course. So now just about 2 kilometers to go to the finish of segment number 6. The pack pace is starting to increase. 46 kilometers per hour. That is about the average speed of this here pack. Currently being led by Osborne. So maybe we'll start to see a breakaway from one of these riders. If I was a betting man, I'd start to think we'd see an attack from Jason. He tends to like these longer segments here. And by now he's very much warmed up and ready to attack at any moment. But the guys are going on a slight downhill right now, which is good for the legs. You can see the speed will start to increase, but the watts will drop a little bit. So now 1K left to go to the end of segment number 6. I'm sure the guys are watching the right side of their screen, checking out the watts per kilo of their fellow riders, seeing who's going to go. Currently, it looks like Paul, he's trying to make an early breakaway. Almost to the 500-meter mark now. Left to go to the end of segment number 6. Finish line is in sight. Behind him, Philip Graves, SS, from UAE Clan Team. It looks like they kind of backed off there a little bit. And off the front now, a little bit of a lead change there with Mr. X100. He's going to be sprinting it to the line. With him, Philip Graves, Mitch Ferry, Jason Osborne, SS. They're all going to come through together. We'll have to see the overall times once most of the guys come through. It's going to be Michael Vink, Danish Pavlova rider. Total time of 14 minutes and 18 seconds. And behind him, UAE Clan Team rider, Mr. X100. Or excuse me, I got the times mixed up. 14:16, Michael Vink's time. Mr. X100 time is 14:18, followed by Philip Graves, 14:19. So Philip was just 1 second behind Mr. X100 there. So very good job there, Michael Vink, Danish Pavlova rider. And again, for Mr. X100, he's really trying to get some overall segment wins today. Looks like he's had some good recovery since the Winter Solstice Championships. So now with segment number 6 behind us, we are on our way to the final segment of the day. Segment number 7, starting at kilometer 33. So just under 3 kilometers to go till we start our last segment of the day. And you can see once I get through the checkpoint there, it's going to be slightly uphill, 180 meters of elevation gain. So now just under 3K to go to the start of the last segment of the day. The pack staying nice and tight again. All the big names are up there for a good overall stage finish today. Sorry, I'm just looking at some data on my iPad here. Mr. X100 on screen. Michael Fink is there as well. So that's good. They didn't exert too much energy on that last segment. They're still with the main pack. So they could fight for a good overall finish today. We'll go ahead and let everybody get cooled down. And I'll come back with you just before the start of segment number 7. So now we're just 700 meters to the start of our last and final segment for today, segment number 7. Again, another 10-kilometer segment coming up for the guys. Starting here at kilometer 33. Everybody keeping good position within the main pack here. Really nice to see that it hasn't broken up too much. And now we can see the start line in sight for segment number 7. Looks like at the front of the group rolling through the start line first, Danish Pavlova rider, Jason Osborne there, with a couple of our individual guys. We have Mitch Ferry, of course, Philip Graves up in there, SS, Mr. X100, trying to take command of this final segment here. I'm pretty sure the guys in the back will not let him get too far ahead. So almost a kilometer into our last and final segment. I think the pack is going to be pretty chill. Might see some of the Danish Pavlova guys come up and start to up the pace of the pack, like we saw in the Winter Solstice Championship. But so far, everybody's staying nice and tidy as usual. No real big moves taking place at this time. But if you watch any of our Winter Solstice Championship, that's kind of the theme for these longer stages here, or these longer segments towards the end. Everybody kind of stays together pretty well. And then usually like within the last 5Ks, 4 to 5Ks of the overall race, you'll start to see some really good action popping off. But as of now, Mr. X100 off the front, controlling the pace of the pack, currently 46 kilometers per hour. And we're almost inside our 10K window to go for the entire stage today. Right behind him, though, Jason Osborne. So now Jason sitting at the front of the pack here with the Mr. X100. Just looking at his data now, heart rate 130s, RPM 60s, and the watts almost in the 400 watt range. Super consistent guy there. And then we have Mr. X100 there, of course. So we have Maxime Perard on the right side of our screen. Didn't get to see much of him earlier, as he's just now coming to the finish of segment number 6. So I'm not really sure if he's put on a major attack to try to take this segment away from Michael Vink or not. But as it looks right now, doesn't seem like it. Of course, we'll have to see when he crosses the line here in a little bit. Now it seems Clan Team is trying to up the pace here. Just 2.7 Ks now into segment number 7. But Jason Osborne regains the lead there, sitting at the front of the group, just letting everybody know he's still there. He's ready to answer anybody's attacks. As is that man, apparently, Mr. X100 and his teammate Pablo Popovich, SS. All these guys ready to answer anything that's thrown at them. But so far, just hanging out together as we go through the last few kilometers. Pablo Popovich on screen now, hanging out at the back of the chase group there. Or excuse me, chase group, the peloton there. He's been having a good showing today so far. Had a pretty good show at the Winter Solstice Championships as well. So back at the front, Mr. X100 there on screen currently. Certainly in good company with Philip Graves. Jason Osborne there alongside him now. A lot of people switching around in the very front of this group. Not sure what the best tactic is. Keep everybody in your sights, or maybe kind of sit in the back like Vink and Ollie and get some draft there. Now you can see the watts increasing just because they're starting to crest a hill. Doesn't mean there's a major attack on the horizon or anything like that. But now they'll start to go downhill. We'll start to see the watt numbers drop and the speed increase, of course. So just about 6K to go to the end of segment number 7. And with that, I'll go ahead and take a break for a few kilometers, let everybody kind of do their thing, and I'll come back shortly. So I'm back, and we are now just inside 3 kilometers to go to the end of segment number 7. Haven't seen any crazy attacks during my break there, but I think soon we'll start to see some. Mr. X100 hanging on to the pack there. Can't let them get too far away. We got Philip and Mitch off the front there. As well as our individual rider, John. And I wonder if soon if we'll start to see Mr. Osborne make an attack. Like I said, there's still 3Ks to go to the end of segment number 7. So it could be a little too soon. But this man needs to be right at the front of the group if he wants to be ready to answer any of the attacks. Mr. X100 from the UAE clan team. And just as I say that, he does work his way up to the front group there, up to the front pack. And he's putting out a really good effort now, flirting in the 500-watt range. Philip Graves, though, like we've seen the whole stage so far, ready to answer any attack from Mr. X100. He was able to answer that pretty easily. Then we have this man, John, one of our individual riders. He's been at the front group all day today. He's been doing an awesome job as well. So now we can see everybody's avatars are out of the saddle, which means their watts are creeping up now. They're starting to set the stage here for an attack pretty soon, I feel. So Mr. X100 now making his way back through the pack again. Keeps getting spit out the back for some reason. He's going off the front now. And of course, we'll see his sidekick come into view, Philip Graves. These guys are not letting him get very far at all. Good tactic from Mr. X100, though, to get everybody up and out of the saddle. Make them work for it. Still pushing out over 400 watts, 6.5 watts per kilo. Philip Graves just there, about the same wattage he had. He was just flirting there with 6.5. They do have a slight incline now on the course. And we have Jason Osborne back up in the mix. So now 500 meters to go to the finish of segment number 7, our last segment of the day. Who's it going to come down to for the overall segment win? We should start to see an attack soon if anybody really wants to take it. Nobody's really sprinting off the front just yet. 300 meters to go. No attacks from Mr. X100. Jason Osborne's launching one now, it feels. They have a slight incline to the finish line here. Checkpoint number 7. Everybody in that group there is pumping out major watts. Coming through the line first will be Osborne. But we'll have to take a look at the timing now that everybody is mostly through. And it looks like it's going to be UAE Clan Team Rider SS. Total time of 14 minutes and 26 seconds. And Yorkshire Pudding Express rider Paul Olden. Total time 14 minutes, 27 seconds. And third for Danish Pavlova, Jason Osborne. 14 minutes, 27 seconds. He was just 0.3 back from Paul Odlin. Yorkshire Pudding Express. We're going to have to come up with a shorter abbreviation for your guys' team name. But good effort there by SS for the UAE Clan team. Taking segment number 7. But now we are just a few kilometers away from today's overall win, overall finish. And at the front of the group, we have Pablo Popovich and Jason Osborne. Mr. X100 now. Mitch Ferry there, Ross Fawcett, Philip Graves. Just inside a kilometer to go. We have 800 meters to go to the finish of today's Sunday Race Club. Who's going to make the attack? Who can hang on? Who can answer the attack? So far, it looks like the UAE Clan Team guys are really trying to break it away from the front there. And now we have an attack there off the front. Ross Fawcett from Great Britain. Just 400 meters to go. Jason Osborne now flying up, pushing over 1,000 watts there at one point. He's not going to let him get too far. He has answered that attack by Ross. He's gone ahead and made the pass. They're now 100 meters to go to the finish line. Looks like we're going to have an all-out sprint finish here between Ross and Jason. Who's it going to be? Coming through the line, it's going to be Ross Fawcett, followed by Jason Osborne, Philip Graves, and Paul Oden. Did not expect that. It was an amazing performance there by Ross Fawcett, our individual rider today, taking the overall win. Total time of 1 hour, 4 minutes, and 30 seconds. And second place, Jason Osborne, Danish Pavlova. And if you look at that time, 0.336 seconds. That was a really close finish between those guys, as well as Philip Graves from Yorkshire, putting Express Team just 0.4 seconds back. In fourth place, Paul Oden, Yorkshire putting Express as well. Fifth place, Danish Pavlova, Michael Kunsen from Denmark. That was a very good first race for our new Sunday Race Club. Taking a look back at the times now. Sixth place, Mitch Ferry. Seventh place for the UAE Clan team, Pablo Popovich. Eighth, Danish Pavlova rider, Ollie Jones. And ninth, Michael Vink. And rounding out the top 10 will be our individual rider, John Bargan, who's put on a really good performance today at the front of the pack. So that's a wrap on the first edition of the Sunday Race Club for the men's race. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And coming up here in a few hours will be our women's challenge. They're pretty much going to be on the same exact course, except their distance is only going to be 35 kilometers. Total of 7 segments as usual, 5 being 1 kilometer segments. And then the last 2 for them will be 5 kilometers instead of 10 kilometer segments. So hope you rejoin us for the women's race coming up. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in. Congratulations, Ross Fawcett, on your overall victory today. And we'll see you guys next week.